Did we tear a hole in reality? Have you ever had the unsettling feeling that the world just doesn't make sense anymore? Like reality has taken on a slightly distorted quality. Prices don't add up. Politics feels more like theater than governance. People are arguing over things we never would have imagined just a decade ago. Some say, well, that's just what happens as society changes. But others whisper a very different explanation. They believe that something happened when scientists at Cern, the European Organization for Nuclear Research, switched on their Large Hadron Collider. The theory goes that the machine ripped open the fabric of our universe. Maybe it shifted us into another timeline. Maybe it blended multiple realities together. Or maybe it triggered something even more profound, a slow moving collapse of the universe itself. I know it sounds like the plot of a sci fi movie, but the reason these ideas resonate so deeply is that they try to explain a feeling millions of people have right now, the sense that the world is tilted into the bizarre. Now, to make things stranger, right at the heart of CERN's campus stands a massive statue, not of a famous physicist, not an abstract sculpture, but a statue of Shiva Nataraja, a Hindu god of destruction and creation. Why would one of the most advanced scientific institutions on Earth proudly display a symbol of cosmic destruction? Today, we're going to unpack all of this, the science, the theories, the symbolism, and the reason why, even if the theories aren't literally true, why they capture something very real about the way people are experiencing our world today. To really get into these theories, let's first understand what CERN actually does. CERN is a research center based in Geneva, Switzerland. It's the home of the Large Hadron Collider, or LHC for short. The LHC is the world's largest and most powerful particle accelerator. This machine is a massive underground ring about 17 miles around, where scientists accelerate protons and heavy ions close to the speed of light and then smash them together. Why? To study the fundamental particles and forces that make up everything in existence. Think of it this way. If you wanted to understand how a Swiss watch works, one way would be to carefully open it and study all the gears and springs. But another way, the LHC's way, is to smash the watch against a wall and see what pieces fly out. By analyzing those pieces, you can learn what the watch is made of. That's essentially what particle physicists do with matter. They smash particles together at incredible energies, and then they examine what comes out. New particles, new interactions, sometimes things we've never seen before. In 2012, the LHC made global headlines when it helped discover the Higgs boson, the so called God particle. This confirmed the last missing piece of the standard model of particle physics, the framework scientists use to describe the basic building blocks of our universe. So, on paper, CERN's work is about science, discovery, pushing the boundaries of human knowledge. But with experiments this powerful, this mysterious, and frankly, this esoteric to the general public, it's no surprise that conspiracy theories and cosmic speculation bloom in the cracks of understanding. Now let's get into the fun and maybe frightening part, the theories. The first major idea is the timeline shift hypothesis. This is tied to what's known as the Mandela effect. People remember things that never existed. The children's book series spelled Bernstein, Brennstain, actually remembered as Bernstein, Brenstein. Or the movie line in Star Wars. Is it Luke, I'm your father? Or no, I am your father? Some even swear they recall Nelson Mandela dying in prison decades before his actual death. These mass misremembrances fuel the idea that CERN's collider jolted us into an alternate timeline, one that's close to our original but not exact. That's why people feel like things are off, because they literally are. The second idea is a kind of mesh of realities hypothesis. Instead of jumping timelines, the collider caused multiple realities to overlap, creating a patchwork effect that could explain the feeling of cultural whiplash. Things we used to take as stable are suddenly fluid, and people can't even agree on basic facts. But then comes the vacuum decay theory, and this is where things get chilling. In physics, there's a concept called false vacuum decay. Imagine that the universe we live in isn't in the absolute lowest possible energy state. Instead, it's in a kind of temporary plateau, a local minimum of energy, but not the true bottom. If some event, maybe even a high energy particle collision, nudged it, the universe could tunnel into that lower state. What would happen then? A bubble of true vacuum would form. This bubble would have different physical laws, different constraints, maybe even different dimensions within it. And it wouldn't expand slowly, it would expand at the speed of light, rewriting everything it touches. Matter as we know it, chemistry as we know it, life as we know it, gone in an instant. Here's where people tie it to CERN. Could the collider spark such a bubble? Could it, without us knowing, have triggered the beginning of cosmic destruction? Now, here's the eerie twist. If such a bubble had already formed somewhere else in the universe, it would be expanding right now at light speed. If it began a billion light years away, it wouldn't reach Earth for a billion years, which means, in principle, the universe could already be collapsing inward, and we just don't know it yet. The sword is already swinging, but the blade hasn't arrived. On the other hand, if the bubble formed nearby in our local patch of the cosmos, we wouldn't even notice it. It would hit us instantly. No warning, no countdown clock, just gone. So, this is one of those theories that captures the imagination because it's both terrifying and oddly comforting. Terrifying because it suggests our universe could blink out in an instant. Comforting because if it happens, we'd never know. Scientists are quick to say there's no evidence the LHC could trigger such a thing. But if there were evidence, do you think they'd tell the public? Cosmic rays, natural particles from space, smash into Earth's atmosphere with far more energy every single day, and the universe hasn't unraveled yet. But is that because this is a part of the natural process, and what we're doing with CERN is quite unnatural, and maybe we don't fully understand the forces that we're dealing in? Either way, the imagery is powerful and it sticks. So, why do these theories spread? because they resonate with how people feel. Look around. Technology is advancing at breakneck speed. Artificial intelligence, genetic engineering, social media shaping how billions think and act. Politics feels chaotic and performative. Economies lurch from crisis to crisis. The sense of disorientation is real. People feel like the rules of the game are changing overnight, like we're not standing on solid ground anymore. For some, the idea that CERN broke reality isn't a literal belief, it's a metaphor, a way to explain why the world feels so surreal, why values are shifting so rapidly, why the familiar feels quite unfamiliar. Once you view it through that lens, the theory almost doesn't need to be scientifically true. It feels true on a deeper cultural, even spiritual level. Now let's add another layer of strangeness. In the courtyard at Cern sits a 6-foot bronze statue of Shiva Nataraja, the Hindu god depicted in a cosmic dance of creation and destruction. Shiva is one of Hinduism's most complex deities, a destroyer, but also a regenerator. In the dance, Shiva crushes ignorance beneath his feet while spinning the cycle of time, creation, preservation, and destruction. The statue was a gift from the government of India in 2004, recognizing the country's contributions to particle physics. To Indian physicists, it's a beautiful cultural symbol, the dance of Shiva as metaphor for the cosmic dance of particles. But to outsiders, especially in the West, it looks odd. The world's largest science lab, ground zero for the most advanced experiments on the planet, displaying a god of destruction at its entrance. Many have jumped on this immediately and have said, see, even they admit what they're doing is about destruction and rebirth. Why else would Shiva be there? Of course, CERN is prepared with an official and quite mundane explanation. It's a diplomatic gift, a cultural exchange, but symbolism matters. And when you combine high stakes physics with a statue of a deity whose dance destroys and recreates the universe, it fuels the narrative that something much bigger, maybe much darker, could be at play. So let's step back. What's really happening here? From the scientific perspective, there is no evidence that CERN has torn a hole in reality, triggered a vacuum collapse, or blended universes. The LHC has been studied exhaustively, and its collisions are tiny compared to the natural particle collisions happening constantly in our atmosphere. The vacuum decay scenario is real in theory, but if it were possible, the universe's own cosmic rays would have triggered it long before CERN ever existed, so say scientists. And if such an event had started near us, we'd already be gone. But from a cultural perspective, these theories are telling. They show how people make sense of rapid change. They reveal the hunger for explanation, for stories that account for why reality feels off kilter. They blend myth and science, fear and wonder into something that resonates emotionally, if not literally. And maybe that's the real point. Whether it's Shiva dancing the cosmos into being, or a vacuum bubble silently expanding across the stars, or just humanity trying to keep up with its own technology, the underlying message is the same. We're wrestling with forces bigger than ourselves. We're trying to make sense of them. And I don't think anyone would argue that these cosmic forces that we are attempting to manipulate, we barely understand them. So, did CERN really tear a hole in the universe? Who knows? But the theory persists because it feels like it explains something real. It gives shape to the unease so many of us feel as we watch the world change faster than we can process. And maybe that's the real power of stories like this. They give us language, imagery, a narrative to wrap around the chaos. Whether or not CERN shattered reality, it certainly shattered our sense of certainty. As we move forward, the question isn't just whether the world has changed, it's how we'll adapt to the change. What do you think? Are we just living in strange times, or did something truly cosmic shift without us noticing? Do you really think the tiny minds of our scientists would have noticed if universes merged? Is there even a scientific test for that? Thanks for joining me today. If you enjoyed this episode, share it, leave a comment, give it a thumbs up, and let me know your take. I'm very interested. Until next time, stay curious, keep questioning, and remember, sometimes the strangest explanations tell us the most about ourselves.